The topic we're discussing today is the fairness of karma. As we know, the law of karma is the most fundamental teaching in Buddhism. The entire Buddhist doctrine, from the simplest path of being a good human to the highest path of sainthood and Buddhahood, is built upon the foundation of the law of karma. This law isn't something the Buddha invented, rather, it's a natural principle of the universe. And the Buddha was the one who discovered it, who possessed the clearest and most profound insight among all enlightened beings of all ages. All of the Buddha's vast, magnificent, wonderful, and profound teachings are founded upon the law of karma and retribution. If we don't firmly grasp the law of karma and retribution, it's absolutely certain that we'll misunderstand Buddhism. We'll easily fall into superstition. We won't be able to apply these beautiful teachings to our lives. That's why anyone who comes to the Dharma, whether to learn and research or with a determined resolve to practice, must first correctly understand the law of karma and retribution. And that's precisely why we're talking today, so we can see that the law of karma is indeed a remarkable and absolute fairness of the universe. So, in this universe, in this life, in this world, in the human life of each one of us, nothing happens by chance. Everything has a cause. And what we do today will inevitably generate a result sometime later, whether in this lifetime or another. For example, today we're gathered here at this monastery to attend the death anniversary ceremony of Patriarch High Son of Dong Dac Pagoda. There must have been some cause from a previous life for us to be here. It wasn't by chance. It wasn't by chance we're sitting here today. Perhaps 3 lifetimes ago, we were among those who contributed to building this very pagoda. Perhaps 5 lifetimes ago, we were monastics who resided here. And perhaps, for instance, 7 lifetimes ago, we were an official governing this region who came to support this pagoda. Nothing is ever accidental. Never. Or, at the humblest level, maybe in a past life, we were just a dog at the pagoda, guarding it and accumulating merit. Today, we've been reborn as humans and have returned to visit the pagoda. That's entirely possible, you never know. Therefore, our presence here today has roots in the past. It's not accidental. And the fact that we are sitting here today is also a cause for the future. That future cause will lead to something fitting happening. For example, today we've come with a mind of respect and reverence for this ancient monastery, revering the Dharma, revering the Sangha. This creates merit, a kind of merit. And this merit can give rise to many different results. It's similar to planting a seed in the ground. It doesn't just produce one fruit. For example, if we take a mango seed and plant it, don't think it just sprouts a mango and that's the end of it. No. Before a mango fruit appears, what grows first? A mango tree, right? Mango leaves, mango branches, mango blossoms, and then mango fruits. And even the mango fruits aren't the end. There are young mangoes, ripe mangoes, and inside the fruit, there's the seed. So, many things emerge from that one initial seed. And when the tree grows, it's not just, oh, I planted a mango seed, so I'll get to eat a mango. No, it's not that simple. I planted a mango seed. But what did I receive? I received an entire mango tree that provides shade. I got to enjoy the shade first, didn't I? I enjoyed the shade, the branches. Sometimes the tree is large enough to be cut for firewood. Mango leaves fall, and sometimes I gather them for burning or as fertilizer for the soil. Mango blossoms can be admired, perhaps even inspiring a poem. And then there are the sour fruits to dip in soy sauce with sugar, since we're vegetarian and don't use fish sauce. And the ripe fruits, and the mango seeds themselves. We might plant them again. So, you see, from just one mango seed that was nurtured, we reap many benefits from that planting, not just one mango fruit and then it's over. Similarly, today we're sitting here listening to the Dharma. It's not that we'll only receive one good result in the future, instead, many good results will occur. For example, the simplest thing is that when we come to the pagoda, we understand the Dharma, our souls become noble and pure, our character becomes complete. Every word we speak carries a certain authority, making our children and grandchildren at home suddenly respect us and imitate our good behavior. The merit we'll enjoy in the next life is unknown, but right here, right now. Our children and grandchildren suddenly become well-behaved and we gain that joy immediately. Just as when we plant mangoes, often before the fruit appears, we get to sit under the mango's shade on a scorching summer day. In the same way, we may not yet be rich, glorious, or prosperous, but our children and grandchildren being well-behaved is already a joy. Or consider our relatives or neighbors. As our character develops through our visits to the pagoda, people suddenly trust and cherish us. Then when we call for a meritorious deed, for instance, in our village, there's a poor and lonely elder whom we want to help but can't do so alone. We gather a few others and say, that poor old man's house, his children are far away, he's sick. Let's take turns helping him in his final days. Because cherishing and respecting the elderly and weak is a noble human virtue. So let's take turns visiting him a little. Previously, if we said that, no one would respond. But now, because we go to the pagoda and possess good character and authority, suddenly when we call, many people agree and respond, and together they accomplish a meritorious deed right before their eyes. Helping a lonely elder. When that person passes away, they die with joy and contentment. Thus, we see that neighbors also become closer and trust each other more than before. For example, if we're at home, we don't know who might try to break in. But since we started rallying neighbors to do good deeds together, when we're away, we can ask our neighbors, "Please watch my house for a bit. I have something to do." We can trust them, and our house is safe because 3 or 4 neighboring houses are looking out for it. So, you see, the mango fruit hasn't even been enjoyed yet, but we've already enjoyed the mango's shade, and we've enjoyed the fallen mango leaves. That comes from the kindness of neighbors. Therefore, we see that our sitting in the pagoda today has a cause from the past, but it will give rise to many results in the future. It's not simple. And karma is always an absolute and strange fairness that governs all human life. We see that the fairness of karma in Buddhism is not just simple. The Buddha's law of karma permeates from the path of being a human to the path of being a saint. For example, right now, as human beings, we aren't yet saints, but we're still subject to the law of karma. And if we want our character to improve, there are ways to plant the seeds of good karma. Or if we want our lives to be more glorious and prosperous, there are ways to plant those seeds. If we want to have more power and influence, or for our appearance to be more beautiful, there are also ways to plant those seeds. To plant them according to the correct Dharma and ethics, not through any deceptive means. That's the way of being human. Or, a person who wants to practice to achieve liberation, to attain the status of a saint like our revered monks and nuns, also has causes and results. We have righteous methods of planting seeds to achieve our holy results, even if it takes a long time. Or, once an enlightened being has attained sainthood and wishes to transform sentient beings, it's not simply that everyone will listen just because they open their mouth. For example, an enlightened being with supernatural powers who knows the past and future might wave a hand and heal someone's serious illness. But don't assume that whatever they say, people will listen. If there's no affinity, others won't listen. Therefore, even an enlightened being who wishes to teach sentient beings still needs to have karma, to have appropriate affinities to be able to speak. Thus, we see that from ordinary people like us to noble saints, to bodhisattvas who transform countless sentient beings, all are silently subject to the law of karma. It's not simple. And because there are causes and results in Buddhism, because we understand the law of karma, we strive tirelessly throughout our lives. Only those who don't understand the law of karma are either lazy and unwilling to exert themselves, or they are superstitious, doing wrong things yet hoping for genuine, noble, and good results. That's not right. Because we understand the law of karma, we are diligent, not superstitious, and we create righteous causes so that our lives can progress and we can help those around us to advance. For example, a student who is struggling in school. Don't think that student will remain struggling throughout their life. No, if they know how to plant the seeds of good karma, in just 1 or 2 years, that student will improve immediately right away. And this is very effective. And a good student, if they plant the right seeds, can become an exceptionally outstanding student. There is a path, and it's not just about burying their head in books and studying hard. No, when we possess the karma of ethics and morality, then everything transforms in a strangely unexpected and beautiful way. Therefore, we must understand the law of karma in this manner. And today we're discussing that, but one day isn't enough. Tomorrow, we'll continue to talk about the law of karma, the nature of karmic actions. In the law of karma, the premise is this: every thought, every word, and every action we perform generates a result back to ourselves. That is, the person, the owner of the thought, the owner of the word, the owner of the action receives a corresponding result. However, let's pay attention to one more point. Our thoughts, our words, and our actions are divided into 2 types. One type has no impact on others and one type does impact others. Let's reiterate. Karmic causes come in 3 forms. First, the thought in our mind. Second, the words we speak. Third, the actions we perform. And within those 3 karmic causes, we again divide them into 2 types. One that doesn't impact others, and one that does impact others, which will produce different results. Let's take an example. Imagine we go into an empty field. We stand in the empty field and shout, "I am king! I am king!" So that's vocal karma, the karma of speech. Does it impact anyone? Is it related to anyone? No, it's not related to anyone at all. We're standing in the middle of an empty field, shouting by ourselves, "I am king! I am king!" Because if others heard it, what would happen? They'd call the police immediately, right? And the police would invite us for an interview either to convict us or send us to a mental hospital immediately. But because we're afraid, we go to an empty field and shout, "I am king! I am king!" We don't know what we're thinking deep down, we just shout it out. That's vocal karma, and this vocal karma doesn't impact anyone. So, are there any karmic results? Because it doesn't impact anyone at all, the karmic result is very weak. But there are still results. What are those results? The results are arrogance, delusion, ambition. That is, we're ordinary people, nothing special at all, but all day long we dream of being a leader, and no one recognizes us as a leader. So we go to the field and shout to satisfy our ambition and delusion. So that cause is the cause of arrogance, wanting to be superior to others. And there's a corresponding retribution. So after we go and stand in the middle of the field and shout, we stop and return to normal. We hide it so no one knows. But suddenly, our life isn't as normal as it was before. Before, when people met us, they were happy and normal. But after we stood and shouted in the field, "I am king! I am king!" When they meet us, they suddenly look down on us immediately. When they meet us, people bow their heads and say, "Where have you been? Why aren't you at home working?" Or someone kicks our butt. Smack. Or someone scolds us, always being flighty. That is, they never heard us shouting in the field. But suddenly our merit is lost in such a strange way. Suddenly, even though no one knew about that arrogant act, the merit is still damaged. When people meet us, they don't have the same affection for us as they did the day before. They immediately despise us. It's so strange. That's karma that doesn't impact anyone. As for karma that does impact others, it lasts for a very, very long time. For example, imagine this. We're a well-off person in the village. Next door lives a poor person, and we look down on them, we disdain them. We speak arrogantly, saying, "You people are poor," meaning we rely on our wealth, we have a contemptuous mind, and we speak contemptuous words that others can hear. That is, our contempt, our contemptuous words, impact the minds of others, making them feel hurt. If they feel hurt, the retribution will be truly terrible, not as simple as when we shouted in the field and no one knew. When we truly make others feel hurt, embarrassed, and humiliated, the retribution that comes is tremendous. Then perhaps, if our merit is still strong, we might enjoy it for another 10 or 20 years. Until we get old and our fortune collapses immediately. We become old and poor immediately and everyone looks down on us in return. And if that contempt is even more severe, it can cause our children and grandchildren to fail in their endeavors. They cannot even raise their heads. Wherever our children and grandchildren try, they fail. That means it can destroy several generations of our children and grandchildren, not just a little. So the karma of looking down on others, the karmic result is very frightening, not simple. Or, when we mistreat others, causing them suffering, the suffering that returns to us is prolonged and difficult for many years. It's not simple. For example, if we are an official, a cadre, and we have power, one day, a poor person who has no home comes to us and asks, "Sir, you have a position, you have power. Please give us a charity house, just a roof to stay under." At that time, perhaps because we were angry at someone or too busy, we snapped at them, saying, "I have so many things to do, so many things to worry about for you, so many things to resolve. Go away." That is, we say a word and then dismiss it without helping them. So they go home feeling humiliated and they continue to endure a leaky house and crumbling pillars. Then the karma returns to us very tragically. It means not in this life, but in future lives we will always be a person who asks for something and no one gives it, who wants help from anyone and gets none, and our house will be in tatters. The karmic result stretches very long. anything that impacts others, the retribution that returns to us is 100 times greater than what we caused. We just slapped someone once, but that slap we gave them in front of many people will result in us being tormented for about a year, being harassed, being humiliated for a year in return for just one slap. So we see, it's like planting one mango seed, but it yields thousands of fruits, and for countless years, countless seasons. We see that the result is always many times greater than the cause. Conversely, when we bring joy to someone, the joy that returns to us lasts for a very long time. For example, one time we were walking on the street, and we saw someone writhing in pain on the road. The road was deserted, and although we were in a hurry, we were moved. We stopped our car, went to ask, and they said they had a stomach ache, experiencing severe pain in the middle of nowhere, with no one to call and no one to help. We were also afraid they had appendicitis. We quickly put them in our car and drove them to the hospital immediately. Thanks to our timely intervention, they had surgery in time and escaped death. Just that. Yet our health increased, our lifespan increased. Later, if our children and grandchildren have accidents, they will all be rescued by others. The retribution returns to us for a very long time and in great abundance, and it was just one time we helped someone. So, you see, it's always like that. One rice grain planted yields a whole cluster of rice stalks. One mango seed nurtured, after 10 years, yields thousands and tens of thousands of mangoes. We harvest them continuously. That is the fairness of karma. Therefore, we must understand the law of karma deeply so that we can control every action, every thought, and every word throughout our lives. The best outcome for someone who truly believes and understands karma is that we can restrain ourselves. We avoid evil deeds, and we diligently perform good deeds. That is the immediate benefit, the immediate advantage. We don't yet know how the merit will return to us 1,000-fold later, but right now, we are a righteous and worthy person because we know how to restrain ourselves. And we understand that a person who knows how to restrain themselves is a good person. If we want to be a good person, first and foremost, we must know how to restrain ourselves. A person who doesn't know how to restrain themselves, who does whatever they want, that person is not a good person. That person is not a moral person. A moral person, first and foremost, knows how to restrain themselves. When they want to do something, they think about it 3, 5, even 10 times. Should I do it or not? Even if they really like it, they don't do it. Knowing how to restrain oneself is the initial sign of morality. And it is the law of karma that makes us know how to restrain ourselves because we possess the wisdom to know causes and results. We may like something, but we always consider and deduce where this retribution will lead before we act, rather than just doing whatever we want immediately. That is the beautiful consequence for someone who believes and understands karma. And if an entire society, if many people believe and understand karma, it's certain that this society will be very good and very prosperous, because no one would hurt anyone, and everyone would want to help others find peace and happiness. When we listen to the Dharma of the Buddha with a sincere, solemn, and pure mind, we receive great merit. What kind of merit? Throughout our lives, we will have wisdom. But if we listen to the Dharma with contempt and hinder others from listening, throughout our lives we will suffer the retribution of being ignorant and foolish. So, any little movement becomes a cause and a result. We strive to be like that. When the law of karma bestows such self-restraint upon each individual, and if the whole society is like that, then we must be sure that this society will be full of good things. We don't need to look far for heaven. We know that heaven can only be found among people who believe and understand karma, who know how to live well and kindly with each other. That is heaven, not far away. The absolute fairness of karma. In the law of karma, there is a prominent characteristic, which is fairness. Karma is fairness. The wonderful beauty of karma is its fairness. At first, people who hear about the law of karma are still hesitant, saying, "Oh, Venerable Sir says that whatever cause, there will be that result. But how can we prove it? Because science doesn't know, it cannot see it. So how can we prove that truly those who do good will meet good, and those who do evil will meet evil? Because in our lives, we see many evil people who are still rich, and many good people who are still poor. Although we believe the Buddhist teachings that those who do good will surely meet good and those who do evil will surely meet evil. So we remain hesitant and doubtful, but we really want to believe. Why? Because we see that the law of karma is fair, and so we love it. Here's what we see. Humans don't yet possess enough wisdom to see karma operating fairly. They don't have enough wisdom to see it because only saints can see it. Ordinary people like us aren't capable of seeing it. But they believe and accept. Why accept when you're not capable of proving it? They say because karma is fair and we love the fairness of karma, so we accept the law of karma. Even if we're not capable of knowing if that principle is real or not. But because karma is fair and we are people who love fairness, so we accept it. And we will live according to the law of karma and will teach our children and grandchildren to believe and live according to the law of karma. So, do we consider that person moral? Certainly, that person is moral because only moral people love fairness. And when they love fairness, they accept the law of karma. As for someone who says, for example, I don't believe in the law of karma. I don't accept the law of karma because science cannot prove it. This person cites the simple reason that since science hasn't proven it, they don't accept it. We immediately understand that this person is immoral. Why? Because this person lacks one thing: they don't cherish fairness. Isn't that right, dear Buddhists? Isn't it clear? They use the excuse that science hasn't proven it to not accept the law of karma. We immediately understand the dark heart of this person. This person doesn't cherish fairness. And if they don't cherish fairness, they are immoral. And if they are immoral, then surely this person will do wrong. Guaranteed, they will do wrong. When an immoral person, they will certainly do wrong. For example, if that person has a high position and power, it's guaranteed that they will exploit their position and power to oppress others and gain benefits for themselves. Or, if that person has no power or position, they are an ordinary person. Then in their mind, they're always thinking about how to transfer money from other people's pockets into their own pocket. Because the law of economics is like that. It's funny in economics. There's a very simple definition of how to make money. Make money from other people's pockets become money in your own pocket. It's incredibly simple. And this is a reality. Who doesn't acknowledge it's true? Earning money means how to get money from other people's pockets into your own pocket. But it's not simple. Saying it's simple doesn't make it simple. Why? Because money is connected to one's very core. The money in other people's pockets is their blood and bones, their heart, their flesh and blood, their very guts are in it. You can't just reach in and take it and put it in your pocket. No, right? The only easiest way to get money from other people's pockets into your own pocket is to be a thief, nothing else. For example, someone grabs your neck and you pickpocket their money and put it in your pocket. That's it. But normally, for money in other people's pockets to flow into your pocket, then what? Then you have to do something to make them happy. Or you have to provide something they want to buy. For example, they want to buy rice, you have rice. They want to buy gold, you have gold. They want to buy a car, you have a car to sell. Then their money will flow into your pocket. You also have to make some effort, provide some service, or some other asset. It's not just that when you're looking for money, you simply take money from other people's pockets and put it in your own. And many people, because they don't cherish fairness, just want to make money simply by getting money from other people's pockets into their own. So they use all kinds of tricks. Deception, trickery, or theft. We call that doing wrong. That's an immoral person and a person who does wrong. And a person who does wrong like that, first of all, the law will punish that person. And if the law doesn't fully punish them, then the law of karma will continue to punish them. And the law of karma punishes thoroughly, then it is severe. Why? Because the law of karma is very fair. There are things that society's law cannot fully punish, but the law of karma brings them out and punishes them. Not a single hair, not a speck is missed. It's very frightening. And we also understand this. Why did humans create laws? Why did humans establish courts to judge? Why at the very beginning of time, in ancient times, were there no laws, no courts to judge? But then gradually, humans established laws and set up courts to judge. Why? Only because humans are a type of animal that cherishes fairness. And we are human because we have that in our hearts. We cherish fairness. If we humans did not cherish fairness, we would be exactly like other animals in the forest. Other animals in the forest have no fairness. The strong win, the weak lose. That is, when a tiger tears apart an animal, it doesn't think about it. It just knows it's strong enough to eat meat, so it eats it immediately. But humans are not like that. That's why we humans have laws and courts to judge. For example, when one person beats another, immediately the law and the court judge. They don't care if you are rich or poor. Because humans are equal before the law. Therefore, we understand that the reason why we are truly righteous, bright, and superior human beings is because we know how to establish courts and laws. And why? Because we cherish fairness. And we understand this even further. In ancient times, laws were very simple. But as time goes on, laws become more sophisticated. Why? Because the more civilized and wise people become, the more they cherish fairness. How fair? We will see. A few years ago, the TV aired the drama Bao Zong's Cases. I don't know if that movie was shown in the North. Yes, it was, right? In that movie, we see how simple the law was at that time. Murder was compensated with a life, right? Meaning, when a murder case occurred, after all the hiding and investigation, finally the culprit was identified and immediately beheaded. And there were no mitigating circumstances at that time. Although Lord Bao Zong was very honest, upright, and wise, the wisdom and civilization of humanity at that time were not equal to today. In our present era, if someone commits murder, they are brought to trial and the motive, circumstances, and details are considered. It's not that if someone commits murder, they are immediately shot. No, it's not like the ancients. So there are cases like this. In Saigon, there was a case where a boy killed his stepfather. He was immediately arrested because he couldn't run away. He had nowhere to hide. He was young and a minor. He killed his stepfather. After that, some people who knew the story came to the prosecutor's office and the court. They explained the reason. Because his stepfather was too cruel. From the time he came to live with the boy's mother, he tormented his mother terribly and also tormented his siblings terribly. He did nothing good. And the repression built up until the moment he took the knife and dealt with him. First, it was a murder charge, but when the court tried him, first, he was a minor. Second, he was under duress. And the fault mostly lay with the victim who had caused suffering to that family for 10 years. And to deter others, the court sentenced him to a suspended prison sentence. We see how different it is from ancient times. Therefore, we see that the more civilized and wise people become, the more they cherish fairness. And the law of karma is precisely that fairness. Therefore, we see that civilized people, wise people, naturally find it easier to accept and love Buddhism. Because there is a perfect fit between the civilization and wisdom of people who cherish fairness and the fairness in the law of karma of Buddhism. This is something we can be proud of. We can be honored when we come and kneel before the Buddha hall, we pay homage to the Buddha, and we know that this is an enlightened being who brought the doctrine of fairness to life. And thanks to that, countless people in the world have been able to restrain themselves and not allow themselves to do wrong, but only encourage themselves, only allow themselves to do beneficial and wholesome deeds for this life. We bow to him with all our hearts, without any hesitation. It is truly worthy. The unfailing law of karma and rebirth. Let's look at the law of karma through this example and we'll see its fairness. There was a thief who, after investigating a family, found they had hidden some gold. So, he took advantage of their vulnerability, broke in, tied up the homeowner, held a knife to his throat, cutting and slicing his flesh, causing blood to flow. All to extort the gold. After the homeowner bled too much and couldn't bear the pain, he revealed where the gold was buried. The thief dug it up, confirmed it was true, then slit the homeowner's throat, killed him, and escaped. The law couldn't find him. He hid and couldn't be found. When he was suspected, the police investigated. But he used money to bribe the investigators, stopping the investigation immediately. So the suspicion against him was diverted. He got away and the case was never solved until the day he died. Earthly law couldn't punish him. That is, the fairness of the world established by humans isn't powerful enough to resolve all good and evil in this life. But the law of karma doesn't spare anyone. The law of karma doesn't spare him. That criminal escaped the fairness of human law, but he couldn't escape the fairness of the law of karma. So, that criminal began to suffer from illness and pain. A cancerous tumor grew, causing pain exactly where he had cut and sliced the victim to extort the gold. So, that criminal began to suffer from illness and pain. A cancerous tumor grew, causing pain exactly where he had cut and sliced the victim to extort the gold. So, previously, he had cut a wound on the thigh, and then the cancer tumor appeared, causing pain right there. Ulcerated and wouldn't heal. Then he cut the other person's armpit, and then his armpit became numb and paralyzed. He couldn't move his arm, the tendons felt like they were cut. And a painful tumor appeared right there. The pain lasted for many years, and he never slept soundly, always having nightmares, meaning he saw scenes of being chased, killed, burned. stabbed tragically, running and screaming in the dark with no one to save him. His wife and children slept beside him, waking him up drenched in sweat, not knowing what was happening. He suffered both pain and nightmares. Then, when he died, was that the end of his retribution? No, not yet. After he died, he went to hell, suffering further down there. We know that in the unseen realm there is a place the Buddha calls hell. That place is for punishing sinners whom the law on earth has overlooked and not fully punished. So, when he went down there, he continued to suffer, being burned, stabbed, chopped, tortured, and tormented miserably. We might be surprised and say, why? He only killed one person. But he suffered a lifetime of tragic pain at the end of his life, and then he still went to hell. Why? Because of this, we see that one action, when committed, doesn't just affect one individual. It's not just that the man was cut and sliced so many times and then had his throat cut and died, and that's the end of the story. This is what happens when his wife and children came home. They discovered that their father had died, their husband had died, and all their property was lost. What happened to the remaining wife and children? Unimaginable suffering, right? The pain in their hearts because their loved one died that cannot be compensated at any price. Perhaps we have experienced the suffering when a loved one in our family dies, haven't we? Yes, we have, right? The suffering is extreme, especially if it was an injustice, a tragic death. The pain is unimaginable. So, just the suffering of the wife and children, they will pay for countless lifetimes. It's endless. At the same time, because all their property was lost, their children dropped out of school, they couldn't continue studying. They had to do manual labor and their lives went downhill. And the wife, from then on, had to struggle and toil to sustain the family's life for many years. Then she became frail and sick and also died early. Then the children were orphaned and helpless. And if they managed to keep their ethics, it would be better. But if they had no father, no mother, and were poor when they grew up, they became thieves. That is truly tragic. That is, the consequences of killing one person to steal wealth bring forth countless bad consequences for this life. Therefore, that thief, after killing one person when he got cancer and died, had not yet paid off his debt. He had to go to hell to continue paying it off. And when he finished paying his karmic debt in hell, who knows how many decades or centuries, he was reborn as a human, continuing to pay. He hadn't finished. He continued to pay in the next life, becoming a person whose father and mother died early. Because before, he had caused others to lose their father and mother early. So now he is reborn to pay back, losing his father and mother early. And then he drops out of school and has to struggle and toil in life. So we see that a sinful act, when the law of the world brings that thief out and executes him once, or imprisons him for 20 years, it's done. But the law of karma calculates every tiny consequence that person has caused for suffering in this life, settling everything, not missing a single detail. It's truly terrifying. Conversely, for example, in our lives, there was one time when we saw a decent person who was not greedy, who had qualifications but no job. We knew someone, so we introduced them. We said, I know this kid. He's my neighbor. I'm not really close to him, but I see this kid is well behaved. He has qualifications but no job. If he gets a job, he can help his family very well. And I know you need someone. So please, for my sake, hire him. With just one caring word that we spoke, that person hired that young man. And when that young man worked, he didn't just take care of himself. He took care of his family, didn't he? If his work prospered, he could sometimes support his whole family. So his younger siblings could go to school and his parents could be at ease. The important thing is not having to worry every night. That is priceless. For example, if someone in the family has no job, eating today's meal but not knowing if they'll have rice to cook tomorrow. That feeling of insecurity constantly haunts and weighs heavily on their soul. And that's what's terrifying. But when people have a job, they no longer worry about that. Not having to worry about eating today and wondering what to cook tomorrow, that relief, that happiness, that peace, no money can compensate for that. That's what's great. That's what's priceless. So, similarly, the retribution that comes to us isn't simply that if we help someone get a job, tomorrow we'll win the lottery for 5 or 10 million and that's it. No. The joy and good fortune last our entire lives. And later, our children and grandchildren will continue to enjoy it. Our children and grandchildren grow up and naturally, wherever they go, it's easy for them to find jobs. And in our old age, we will be peaceful and happy, seeing our children and grandchildren stable and successful. We never imagined that it was only thanks to our merit of finding a job for someone else that the consequences would be so long and powerful. Therefore, we see the fairness of karma when judging all of a person's deeds, calculating every tiny detail. When we understand the fairness of karma, we truly feel awe. We know to restrain ourselves in every thought, every word, every action. But if we don't fully understand karma, we live very superficially. We want to hurt someone, we hurt them. We want to help someone, we help them. So it's unstable, not stable. People who are unstable, when they interact with us, today they see us as good, but the next day they see us as erratic. We don't know how to deal with them. But a person who understands karma always maintains a boundary, self-restraint, and stability. So if we are already a good person, we remain good forever. Others come to us, they form friendships, family ties, and they feel secure for their whole lives. And that security for an entire lifetime is also a great happiness, a great merit for us. When we make our loved ones around us trust our character, trust our soul, our merit is also very great, it's not nothing. Karma across lifetimes. Reincarnation and liberation. We see that the law of karma is also related to many lifetimes. Why? Because many retributions don't have the conditions to appear in one immediate lifetime, but must extend through many other lifetimes. For example, as we talked about earlier, because we harmed others, causing them to be orphaned, but in this life, we are not orphaned. So in this life, we don't receive that retribution. We have to wait until another life to receive that orphan retribution that's more fitting. Or in this life, we often deceive and disappoint others. But now we're too successful, no one can deceive us. But in the next life, we will be deceived in return. Or in this life, we have helped countless people regain their sight, or provided wheelchairs for disabled people to move around. But in this life, we are not lame or handicapped, so no one gives us a wheelchair. But in the next life, Now I want to ask you, dear Buddhists, for example, in this life, we see a disabled person who cannot move, so many people. We buy a wheelchair and donate it to them. What will be the karmic result? Will it be that, in the next life, we will naturally be disabled again to receive another wheelchair? No, right? But karma is fair, cause and effect. So what should happen? Will it be that we see someone disabled and give them a wheelchair, and in the next life, we will be hit and crippled to receive a wheelchair in return? No, will we? What will the retribution be? Will we ride a car? Smart. Venerable Sir. Very smart. They demand to ride a car for giving a wheelchair. Can truly happen, it's not impossible. Why? Because it means that people who cannot move, we help them move easily. That's the nature of it, not that we are hit and crippled to receive a wheelchair. It means that people who have difficulty moving, we help them move easily. So in the next life, we have legs to walk, but naturally we will have a car to move around more easily. So the Venerable said it correctly, not wrong. So in the next life, in this life, we have nothing. But in the next life, suddenly our legs are very strong, we have the merit of very firm legs, moving around easily, and it's easy to have a car. For example, in the era when people rode bicycles, we had bicycles. When society advanced to cars, we had cars. And beware, when people travel by plane, we might even get a plane. Therefore, simple causes that we consider trivial, when the retribution manifests, they are 1,000 times greater. And we see that the law of karma is related to many lifetimes. Therefore, in Buddhism, there is also the concept of reincarnation, the rebirth from this life to another. And when we die in this life, it doesn't mean we cease to exist. Death is not the end. We will be reborn in another life. Therefore, there is another important law related to the law of karma. Reincarnation, rebirth. We die in this life and are reborn in another. However, reincarnation is not simple. It's not simple that we just die and are reborn in another life immediately. No. When we die in this life, our soul, our consciousness, will exist in the unseen realm for a period of time. Then, when the cause and conditions are sufficient, when we have the right father and mother, we will be born into that family to be reborn in another life. But if there is no affinity, if the conditions are not sufficient, if the father, we will not be reborn. For example, in a previous life, we created some cause so that in the next life we would receive such merits. Our parents are wealthy, our mother is very beautiful. So we inherit good genes and are beautiful. Our father is very talented and has power and position. And our destiny is to be the eldest child, and after that we don't have many siblings. The state only allows 2 children, so we have 1 younger sibling. That's the quota, no more. And in that father and mother, there is also something, the family line is large. But our father is the eldest child, etc. That is, we have created karma, who knows how, that determines it that way. So we have to wait for the exact conditions of that karma to be reborn. For example, if those karmic conditions have not yet arrived, we will continue to exist in the unseen realm, waiting. We enjoy blessings there. In that realm, we will also have houses, dwellings, and comfort. Sometimes people worship us. Until the karmic conditions arise, when a talented man and a beautiful woman meet and fall in love, then get married, both sides are very wealthy. The mother is extremely beautiful, the father is extremely talented, has power and position. They have just gotten married and are about to have a child. At that time, we come to that family to be reborn when the conditions are right. Therefore, it's not that we're reborn immediately after death. We have to wait for the right father and mother, the right circumstances. Or, a person who creates some sin, the karmic law in the next life dictates that this person, when born, after 3 days, while still red and vulnerable, their father is unknown and their mother will abandon them at the temple gate for the monk to bring in and raise to become a monastic. That's what the law of karma dictates. So we have to wait. We have to wait for the exact case to happen, for a scoundrel to seduce a naive girl and for the girl's family, her parents, not to tolerate their daughter's illegitimate pregnancy. So all these conditions combine. So the young mother has to run away with her pregnant belly, disappearing somewhere. And when she gives birth with the help of those around her, she cannot take her child with her. She loves her child, but she cannot take the child back to her hometown. So, after 3 days of birth, she passes by a pagoda and leaves the child there. The law of karma, once it has dictated something, it waits for the exact conditions, a scoundrel, a naive girl, and the girl's family not tolerating her illegitimate pregnancy. That is, all these conditions are squeezed together. So the young mother has to run away with her pregnant belly, disappearing somewhere. And when she gives birth with the help of those around her, she cannot take her child with her. She loves her child, but she cannot take the child back to her hometown. So, after 3 days of birth, she passes by a pagoda and leaves the child there. We see that it waits for the exact conditions to appear, then rebirth happens. While we're waiting, we temporarily reside in the unseen realm. Our ancestors called it the soul, and in Buddhism, it's called consciousness. During that time when the soul or consciousness hasn't yet been reborn, it will, according to its karma, find a suitable place to stay. A soul with very heavy sins will suffer punishment in hell. Those with fewer sins will be a kind of hungry ghost, wandering aimlessly. This person, after death, no one offers them food. No one provides them with a proper place to stay. So they stay in fields or under trees. Sometimes if a drunkard passes by and vomits, they eat that food, otherwise they have no proper food. No one offers them food. Only occasionally, when the pagoda offers food during ulambana ceremonies, do they compete with other hungry ghosts for food. But throughout the year, the feeling of hunger persists. Although they have no stomach, they are just a faint, ethereal soul, they still suffer from the feeling of hunger and deprivation. That is the hungry ghost realm. A lesser sin than hell, but still a sin. But usually, when such beings are reborn, they are rarely reborn as humans. They are often reborn as animals like dogs or chickens. As for souls with more merit, they will have a proper place to eat and stay. For example, they are worshipped by their children and grandchildren in the house, receiving offerings of food every day. Or they are brought to the pagoda to be worshipped in the ancestral hall or reliquary, where the pagoda offers food and chanting every day. So they also learn to practice and accumulate merit. While waiting to be reborn, they go to the pagoda to practice and do good deeds. For example, when they were alive, they often came to the pagoda to listen to the Dharma, helping to clean the pagoda, doing good deeds every day, or every week, or every half-month on repentance days. Because of that karmic affinity, when they die, if they haven't met rich parents, and their destiny is to be rich because when they were alive, they did a lot of good deeds at the pagoda, then when they die, the law of karma dictates that they wait until the right rich parents appear before they are reborn into that family. If that affinity hasn't arrived, they will temporarily stay at the pagoda. So, at the pagoda, their ancestral tablet is placed in the pagoda's ancestral hall, just like we see the ancestral hall. So they are not hungry. Every day, the venerable monks and nuns offer them food. They listen to sutras and chants. They guard the pagoda. So, although no one sees them, their souls continue to protect the pagoda. They walk around, preventing thieves from entering, protecting the pagoda, encouraging people who are wandering on the street. They influence people's minds to be kind and not destroy the pagoda. That is, the dead influence the living by mind. For example, when we were alive, if children were playing, we would go and say, "Children, don't play. Keep the pagoda peaceful." We used words. But the spirits, they don't speak words for children to hear. They speak directly into the child's mind. A child comes to the pagoda intending to cause trouble, but suddenly in their mind appears the thought, "The pagoda is a sacred place, don't mess around." They climb down and don't climb on the statues. They think it's their own thought. But they don't realize it's the thought of the spirits in the pagoda's ancestral hall, the spirits who guard the pagoda and continue to do good deeds. So they continue like that until they find the right wealthy parents according to their karma. Then they leave the pagoda and go to that house to be reborn into that family, becoming a child in a wealthy family. When they grow up a little, they immediately return to the pagoda to continue doing good deeds and practicing, continuing to plant good karma. Therefore, there is an intermediate stage where we exist in the unseen realm. And as for those who rendered great service to the country, for example, when they were alive, they were officers, generals, or leaders who wholeheartedly served the people and the nation, never taking bribes or being greedy, always caring for the people. Whenever they saw people suffering, they blamed themselves. When they traveled on a road or visited a village and saw people struggling with difficult roads, they blamed themselves, reviewed themselves, and tried to find ways to mobilize resources to help that village have good roads. Or when they visited a village and found that children had to cross a river by ferry to go to school. And when the wind and waves were strong, their lives were in danger, they immediately tried to find ways to build a bridge so that children like those in Nongsun would not all die. So, a high-ranking official who cared for the people and the nation like that, when they died, the karmic law dictated that in the next life, they would be born into an extremely powerful and noble family, growing up intelligent and eventually becoming a leader, perhaps even a prime minister. But while waiting, if they haven't found the right father and mother in the unseen realm, they are a powerful deity, meaning they have a temple, a mansion, with servants attending to them properly. Because when they were alive, they were an official who cared for the people and the nation, so they become a deity. And in ancient times, it was like that. In ancient times, great officials and generals who rendered great service to the country, when they died, all became deities. And sometimes we worship them with temples. It's the same today, it's not different. Today, too, we shouldn't think that generals and officials who rendered great service to the country are gone when they die. They are somewhere, with temples and mansions, still powerful and glorious in that realm, with servants attending to them as usual. And then, when the affinity for rebirth comes, they will be reborn again, and their karma will continue to grow even greater. Those are the ones who performed meritorious deeds. As for those who spent their entire lives practicing, whose souls were extremely moral and saintly and who performed countless good deeds for everyone, those people upon death are reborn directly into the heavens. That is the realm called heaven. That realm only has joy and happiness. In that realm, people live by mind without needing to speak. One person knows the thoughts of another, and all live very sincerely, very happily, very kindly. Whatever they wish for appears immediately. For example, if a celestial being likes to live on a mountain landscape appears for them. If they like to live in a palace appears immediately. If they like to wear beautiful clothes appear immediately. That is, whatever they wish for, they receive. And they live only in love. Everything is love. So, a person who knows how to practice, whose soul is moral and saintly, who does many good deeds to help life, will surely go to heaven upon death. As for an official, sometimes they are hot-tempered. So when they die, they become a deity, not a saint. As for a person who becomes a saint, they must not be hot-tempered. So even if you have rendered great service to the country, to the people, but you are still hot-tempered, you will only become a deity, not a saint. But if you have rendered great service to the country, to the people, and your mind is gentle and calm, never scolding anyone, then you will become a saint immediately upon death. Karma is like that. When the affinity for human rebirth appears, then they begin to be reborn. But how is rebirth? Rebirth is like this. When the affinity with parents is about to arrive, we often return to that house. We surround the parents. For example, when parents get married and live in their house, naturally, the child's spirit, the child's consciousness comes to live near there, hovering around, happy, loving their parents. And then it's like that. But even when the parents are close, the child isn't yet reborn. The father's sperm enters the mother's ovum, the egg, but rebirth hasn't yet occurred. It is only when, a few hours later, the father's sperm combines with the ovum and truly becomes an independent embryo with life, that at that moment, our soul vanishes immediately. And our life becomes that embryo. The soul vanishes, and at that moment, we forget all past events. We begin a new life as a very small embryo, invisible to the naked eye. We need to magnify it several thousand times under a microscope to see that embryonic bud. And we are that tiny embryonic bud while the large soul from before vanishes immediately. We forget all past matters, and our ancestors often used a metaphorical saying, eating forgetfulness porridge. Before rebirth, the devil makes you eat forgetfulness porridge to forget your previous life. But in reality, that's not true. The truth is that the embryonic bud is too small and does not yet have a brain. So it cannot record the data from the previous life. Therefore, the data from the previous life is erased, we forget everything, and we just grow up according to karma. That is, if karma dictates that we grow up to be a handsome person, an intelligent person, a healthy person, then the embryo just grows and grows accordingly. When the child is born, the parents are surprised. Oh, my child is so handsome. A few more years or months, they discover my child is so intelligent. And when they grow up a little more, they unexpectedly become a strong and healthy young man. That is all regulated and controlled by karma, the development of the embryonic bud of the new life. And when we grow up in a new life, there are two things. First, we receive the old retribution from the previous life, and second, we continue to create karma for the next life. Our lives are like that. We are here now, receiving the retribution from the previous life and continuing to create karma for the next life. And so, we continue to wander endlessly in samsara, being reborn from one life to another. So, from a common, ordinary perspective, what do we wish for? We wish, perhaps in a previous life, we forgot to create merit, so in this life, we don't enjoy much merit. In this life, we are not a prime minister, so our immediate wish is to create merit in this life so that in the next life, we can enjoy more merit. That is a very short-sighted view. But when we understand deeply, when we gradually understand deeply, we see that humans constantly wander in samsara through many lives. Then, even if we are rich and glorious in this life or another, we still feel perhaps tired and struggling. Even if we are a king, having to be reborn and wander repeatedly, we still feel tired and struggling. And at that time, what is our true wish? By then, we will have a very legitimate, very meaningful wish to stop the cycle of rebirth, to truly be liberated, no longer to wander. It's tiring. Even if we are born as a lord or a general, it's still tiring, still struggling, still calculating, and easy to create karma. When we are a lord or a general, our power impacts many people. Just a moment of anger and we create terrible karma. Just one wrong law and countless people suffer. So it's still hard, not really pleasant. So in the end, someday let's stop the cycle of rebirth, no longer to be reborn. And in that realm of liberation, we will protect sentient beings so that they can know good and avoid evil, so that they can create good karma and progress in the cycle of rebirth, and finally, they too will cease rebirth. That is the highest and most beautiful wish. Do you all agree with us? Do you agree? Yes, you agree, right? That's it. That is the most beautiful wish. Our immediate wish, as we said, is only to seek merit for the next life, so in this life, we strive to create merit. But when we understand deeply, we say, well, creating merit is necessary to create, because living in this world, we have to create merit. There's no other way. But what kind of merit? Merit of being a lord or a general. That's still tiring, struggling, and easy to commit sins if we make a slight mistake. So, stopping is the right thing to do. And this is precisely the goal of Buddhism. The goal of Buddhism is for us to find the path of practice to stop the cycle of rebirth and truly achieve liberation so that no karma can compel us to enter the cycle of rebirth again. And no karma is powerful enough to compel us to be reborn again. We have the strength of our practice to such an extent that we are not reborn. In that state, we are a transcendent saint, protecting sentient beings so that sentient beings can continue to practice like us. So, the place where there is no more rebirth, the place of absolute liberation and peace, Buddhism calls Nirvana. Nirvana is an extremely pure, transcendent realm that cannot be described in words. But it is a clear light that pervades the entire universe. It is a loving mind that permeates all beings. Let's not think that Nirvana is empty. No, thinking that is wrong. It's wrong view and creates sin in Buddhism. We must understand that the Nirvana attained by Buddhas and Arhats is not emptiness, but rather a clear light that pervades this entire universe, and it is a mind of great compassion that permeates all beings. That is why whenever we are stressed or at a deadlock, we kneel before the Buddha and pray, and it is always efficacious. Because the Buddha in Nirvana still loves us and protects us. He is not reborn, but he always loves, always knows clearly, and always protects us. But only with one condition. When we pray for something and it is granted, we must give thanks. What does giving thanks mean? Who knows correctly? Is it bringing a tray of offerings to the Buddha? No, right? The Buddha doesn't take bribes. How do we give thanks to the Buddha? For example, let's say this, the house we are living in is suddenly affected by a zoning plan and the house is gone. The house is gone. So, the compensation money from the zoning plan is not enough for us to move our house. And we can't argue with anyone. At that time, we are at a deadlock, we don't know what to do. We go to the pagoda to pray. Our merit is weak, and because our merit is weak, we are naturally subjected to pressure that the compensation or relocation money is insufficient. We are in a bind, so we go and prostrate to the Buddha and pray. We say, I obey the law of the state. Follow the state's zoning plan, I accept moving the house so the state can zone the area beautifully for the people and the nation. But the money to compensate and relocate is too little. I don't have enough to build a new house, to have a warm home for my family and a place to worship and practice. May the Buddha protect me. We pray earnestly. When we return home, suddenly, a high-ranking official happens to pass by. That day, his car breaks down, so he stops there. He asks around a bit, hears us complaining, and then turns to ask, why is the compensation so strange? We say, because that's the fixed price. He says, no, it's not fixed, and the people don't have enough to do anything. So we have to recalculate the compensation to be fair. Can't be like this. Suddenly we escape that disaster. We receive fair compensation and can build a house. So we have achieved our prayer. After that we must give thanks. How do we give thanks? Do we remember Dong Dac Pagoda and bring a tray of offerings to the pagoda as thanks? No. The Buddha doesn't eat our offerings. The Buddha in Nirvana doesn't eat offerings, right? How do we give thanks? By performing some meritorious deed, a great meritorious deed. That is, when we build the house with the money while the state is building the road. We will contribute 20 days of labor for the road so people can use it later. We will contribute 20 days of labor. Or, for the construction workers building the road. Every morning around 9 or 10 o'clock, we bring out a pot of sticky rice and treat them so they have energy to build the road. That is also giving thanks to the Buddha, meaning, doing something for the public good, we compensate for what we asked for. Remember that. So that is karma that is reasonable. And from that we understand what the pure nirvana of the Buddha is. So profound. The principle of reincarnation gives us the answer to why the fates of many children, when born, are strangely different, right? Why is one child born healthy, another sickly? Why is one born into a wealthy family, another into a poor family? Why is there such injustice? If there were no reincarnation and karma, there would never be a satisfactory answer. Some people say it's because of God, meaning that who is rich or poor is determined by God. But no, God is so unjust and strange, right? If God has power and loves people, he must be fair. If he loves, he must love everyone equally. He cannot make this child born into a poor family and that child born into a rich family. Then some people say no. They are born into poor families so they can be trained. But why train this child and not that child, spoiling the other child, right? So there is no answer that says there is some God who makes this child born this way and that child born that way. Only the law of karma is fair. It is the law of karma that brought that child to be born into this family. And it is the law of karma that brought that child to be born into that family. And only the law of karma is fair. So we do not blame any divine being for our own destinies. Instead, we blame each person themselves. When a child is born into a poor family by chance, we know that the child is a bit lacking in merit, or that they were a bit lacking in merit in the beginning. And we show compassion by teaching them how to create merit from a young age. That is, from a young age, they know how to love others, how to help others, how to live sincerely and not be greedy. Then, as they grow up, their life will change for the better. For example, even if they are poor in studies now, if they know how to create merit, how to diligently prostrate to the Buddha, respect the Sangha, and help their friends, then naturally, in a few years, they will become better at their studies. That is karma. Therefore, when we know the law of karma, we can help our children and grandchildren a lot, changing their lives from a seemingly bad direction to a much better one, and very specifically. And this is something everyone is happy about. Overcoming superstition with karma. One more thing is that the law of karma helps us to no longer be superstitious. What is superstition? Superstition means believing in a wrong cause. We want a good result, but we believe in a wrong cause. For example, everyone wants to be rich, but according to the law of karma, if you want to be rich, you have to help others first. You have to spend 5 or 10 years diligently doing meritorious deeds, building roads, giving to the poor, creating jobs for people. If you endure hardship like that for an entire life, then naturally, you will become rich later. That is the correct cause, understanding karma. But what about superstition? Some people say if you want to prosper this year, at the beginning of the year, if a pig comes and poops a pile of dung in front of your house, that year you will surely prosper. So at the beginning of the year, on the eve of Tet, you drag a pig there and don't let it excrete. You tie it up, you cover it so it doesn't know. Then on the morning of the first day of Tet, you let it excrete in front of the house. Then you believe, this year I will prosper. That is called superstition. Superstition means believing in a wrong cause. Or, some people believe that if you leave the house and meet a girl, what happens? Then you should turn back. The venture will fail, right? Is that true? No, that's not true. That's a superstition. Or some people believe that if you constantly beg the gods and saints, you will become very rich. No, that's not true. There's no such thing. The gods and saints, if they see your sincerity and morality, will help you through some difficulty, but you have to repay them by doing good deeds. There are no gods or saints who will just give you everything you wish for if you just beg. Never. Because gods and saints are fair. Or in India, they have this belief. When someone dies, if you throw their body into the Ganges River, that person will achieve liberation. Is that true? Never. Because to achieve liberation, you have to practice extremely profoundly and diligently. As for throwing the body into the Ganges River, what happens? It causes cholera, it's smelly, polluted, and harms the environment, right? Those are superstitions. Therefore, when we believe in karma and understand karma, we avoid superstition and make our lives more righteous. Or we believe this, at the beginning of the year, we go to the pagoda and pick lucky leaves. And throughout the year, we will prosper. That's also a kind of superstition. Why? Because the word lock in Chinese has 2 different characters that sound the same, lock, but are written completely differently. The character for wealth is written one way and the character for young shoot or bud is written another way. But because we hear the word lock with the same sound, we think they are the same. So at the beginning of the year, we go to the pagoda and pluck all the branches, causing the abbot to scream because he can't stop us. That's also a kind of superstition, incurring karmic retribution, causing your trees to not grow later. We see that the law of karma is infinitely profound. No one is capable of fully understanding the workings of the law of karma except the Buddha. As for us, we only understand more as we practice. The more we practice, the clearer things become. No one dares to beat their chest and say, I understand everything about karma. And each karma, each realm, is very complex and different. For example, we are in the human realm and the karma of the human realm is different. But a person reborn in the heavens, the karma of the heavens is mysteriously strange and even more different. And a bodhisattva, when they go to transform sentient beings, has even more secret karma that we cannot understand. We shouldn't think that a bodhisattva uses magic. We shouldn't think that a bodhisattva who wants to transform sentient beings performs magic, appearing in midair and lecturing. No, to make everyone come and listen to them. They also have to plant some cause with the right cause and the right result, then people will come and listen to their lectures. It's not that just by showing supernatural powers, people will come and listen. that also has causes and results. And we have this dream, one day when all schools around the world teach the subject of karma as the foundation of ethics. Then that day, this world will be a heavenly realm of happiness because everyone will love each other, everyone will restrain themselves, avoiding causing suffering to each other, and only wishing to bring joy to each other. Now, perhaps that dream has not yet been achieved. So let's scale down our wish a little that all are Buddhists, especially the beloved Buddhists of Dong Dac Pagoda. From today onwards, remind each other of our faith and understanding of the law of karma. We teach and guide our children and grandchildren about the law of karma. And in this way, we will build heaven in our hearts, in our families, in our villages, and at this revered Dong Dac Pagoda. So these are the words we exchange with each other. Tomorrow, we will continue to talk about the fairness of karma. Before writing these words, we wish all venerable monks and nuns and all Buddhists increased spiritual devotion, good health. May all lay practitioners prosper in their businesses, plant many meritorious seeds, have harmonious and peaceful families, and may their worldly and spiritual lives become clearer each day. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha.